and welcome back to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks, a bold blend of coffee and movie review podcasting. My name is Nick Delaney, and I am your show host, coffee and movie reviewer, and the guy who feels like he missed out on something by not going to a slasher summer camp. In this episode, I'm kicking off summer with the discussion of the iconic 1980 slasher film Friday the 13th. To drink, I'll be reviewing the Shoeless Joe from Golf Park Coffee Company in Lynchburg, Virginia. Everyone, please take a seat, stay a while, and let's talk movies over some coffee. Wow, everyone, I say this every single time, but I feel like it has been so long since I've recorded an episode. I don't think it's just been you and me since the Bring Her Back episode, and I know I skipped a couple of weeks since then, and I do apologize about the gap in episode releases. I have been very busy with the Lynchian Picks series, and I've been on schedule, surprisingly enough, because I thought I'd be like way behind already, but I'm doing pretty good. I'm having a lot of fun over there on the Patreon channel. This is just a reminder. If you've not signed up for my Patreon yet, go to the link in the show notes. Sign up. It's completely free. You get access to twice as many episodes. I make twice as many episodes now, and you just get them for free. I'm not trying to get money out of you, but if you do want to pay me a little bit, that's nice. But I'm having a lot of fun over there talking about David Lynch films. I am kind of going for like a more research approach. Like I've been reading up a lot about the movies before I go into it, because usually I just kind of review it without doing, extensive research. I don't know what that says about me as a reviewer. But I always try to have like this casual atmosphere in my reviews, because this is like trying to simulate a coffee house conversation. But for those, it definitely dives in a little bit deeper. And it's honestly been really interesting to do that with David Lynch's films. Who would have thought, But lots of cool things emerging from the woodwork with the movies that I have seen thus far. Next week, or I guess maybe this week, depending on when I release this, is the Dune 1984 review. So all of that will come crashing down. I am dreading watching that movie again to do that review. I'm so sorry, but I'm dreading that so much. But anyways, I'm having a great time. I'm having a great time on that series. What are you talking about? I'm really looking forward to the Blue Velvet one. That one I've had recorded for 3 months now. What month is it? Yeah, 3 months. And I've just been sitting on it. That episode's going to be like 3 hours long, just so you're ready for that. So subscribe to my Patreon now so that you're ready for that. In other news, I just released an episode last week that was covering Wake and Fright with a dear family member of mine, Jared Priestley, reporting all the way from Australia. That was such a cool episode and fun discussion. You can just go into that if you've seen that movie or not seen that movie. There's not really like spoilers for that movie, I guess, but it's just a great time. So definitely check out that episode. You get to hear a lot about just like weird, for my American listeners, I guess, you get to hear just like about weird Australian things. And we talk about this like, it's an older movie, but it just feels so modern in some ways. And like the way it uses horror, the way it comments on different things. It's really cool. Check it out. But yes, I'm so sorry that there has been some time that's passed. I originally, this Friday the 13th episode, I was not going to make this. I was just going to like wait until like a few weeks later to make a new episode. But I feel like I have so much to say. I have so many things I want to talk about. And I thought, lucky for me, I have a podcast. I can just hop on here, plug in my microphone and talk about it. And maybe some of you will listen. And for that, I'm very thankful. So yeah, hope you're having a good time. Thank you as always for tuning in. I'm having a great time here. Wow. I love podcasting. I love movies. I love it all. But yes, I had so much to say about so many different things. And last night, I'm recording this on the 14th. Last night was Friday the 13th. And I had never seen any Friday the 13th movie before. Any, not even this original one. And I thought, It's as good of a time as any. The Alamo, which I am a season pass holder of, as you know, the Alamo was showing it, a late night showing, 10 p.m. I was like, I just got to do it. I was having a day. I was like, I need to escape to this little slasher horror movie world. Nothing quite like a horror movie to lift my spirits and just kind of, it's like a warm blanket. I don't know what that says about me. I don't know. We can talk about that later. We can talk about it. But anyways, I watched the movie and I wasn't really expecting much, honestly. And then I saw it and I was kind of blown away in, again, ways I was not expecting. And I was thinking, like, I have so many other things I want to talk about on the show and I don't want to wait any longer. And I was like, hey, I think that means you should make an episode. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So here I am. We have a lot to discuss, most of which I will not get to in this episode, but we will save that for the next one. So this is kind of like a little bonus episode, except it's full length. I'm going it all in. I've also been drinking so much coffee that I just has been on my backlog. I haven't talked about it on the podcast yet. So I think that just means I got to start pumping out some episodes for y'all. So yeah. Getting right into that. Speaking of that, our first segment is now brewing, and this is our coffee discussion and review segment. Now, this is all the way from when I went to Lynchburg in early May for my sister's graduation. Congrats, sister. I'm still talking about coffee from then, but I'm reviewing today the Shoeless Joe from Gulf Park Coffee Company in Lynchburg, Virginia. Now, I love to talk about the coffee house itself a little bit before I get into the coffee. So a bit about Gulf Park. They partner with Blanchard's Coffee Roasting Company, which I believe is Virginia based. Let's see. Yes, it's Richmond based. I knew that. It's Richmond based. So that's really cool that this place is like truly like proud Virginian. They're proud virgins, you could say. So they are all about getting the highest quality coffee from around the world, but also, promoting Virginia-based businesses, which as a virgin myself, I love. They have 2 locations in Lynchburg, this Gulf Park place. I went to one of them, that's for certain. And a little, blurb from their website. They said they were founded, quote, to invigorate the local coffee culture in Lynchburg, Virginia. We firmly believe in the magic that a great cup of coffee can bring to a community, end quote. Love, 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 love that. I love that. Local coffee culture. Those are 3 words stringed together that I love. As someone from Dumfries, Virginia, someone who has lived a chunk of my life in Dumfries, and even Woodbridge, I could say this about Woodbridge, there is no local coffee culture. The only places in those 2 areas are chain places that I refuse to name. Which they've been better. I've gone back and kind of like later as I've been going to college elsewhere and everything, there have been like 1 or 2 local places that open. Half of them quickly shut down, unfortunately, but some are still remaining. It's gotten better, but I really like that the people that made Gulf Park, they kind of have their eyes on a local coffee culture. One place in Virginia that I think local coffee culture is really booming is Richmond. Richmond has so many good coffee places. I think of like Grit Coffee and Ironclad and all those different, and even Blanchard's, which is based there. Great local coffee culture. Even where I went to school, Newport News, that whole like Virginia Peninsula has a really vibrant coffee community. And I also think of kind of like the Blue Ridge Mountain area of Virginia, like Stanton, Virginia. Hey, Stanton. I love Stanton so much. They have so many good coffee places out there. But the closer you get to Northern Virginia, the worse this coffee culture is, really. And I think that's because the coffee culture of Northern Virginia is so like go drive through. Like, I just want to go somewhere where I know what I'm getting. I don't want to go anywhere where I have to sit down and stay a while and enjoy a coffee atmosphere. It's all about like getting coffee on your commute to work and not thinking about it. And that's really unfortunate. I don't think that's what a coffee house should be. So I really like that Golf Park, intentionally invigorated the local coffee culture in Lynchburg. They also said that, quote, community and collaboration are at the heart of everything we do. We understand that a coffee shop is more than just a place to grab your morning brew. Huh? It's a meeting place, a sanctuary for ideas, and a hub of creativity. We've made it our mission to foster a sense of togetherness within our community. End quote. Need I say more? Need I say more? Community. Community. That's what this is all about. Creativity. Togetherness. Not to get too sappy right now. Community, creativity, togetherness. I think those three things are also things that you could experience in what? A movie theater. You go to the movies to experience a sense of community while watching something on the screen. I mean, I saw this showing of Friday the 13th in the theater. This movie is 45 years old, and there are still peepers. There are still people coming together in a dark room, bunch of strangers, no distractions or interruptions, to watch this film on the big screen, to come together and experience this feat of creativity. It's really cool stuff. And, as I've done this podcast more and more, I really like that connection between like the coffee house and the movie theater. There's some similarities. It's, of course, very detached, and there's a lot of differences as well, but really cool stuff. If I ever open a coffee place, you can imagine what it will look like. It's just like a little pipe dream of mine. Some more about Golf Park. They also have really cute merch in their store and online. In their store, they were selling like these little disposable cameras. It was like a modern disposable camera, which I know the kids are into that stuff these days, but it was just cool to see that. So yeah, the store itself, the one that I went to, it had very much that minimalist coffee house vibe that I really, really love. I'm kind of like on two extremes when it comes to what I like in my coffee house. I either love like this minimalist, like exposed floors, ceilings, sort of vibe, or I love like just like it to be so cluttered and kind of like the coffee house from Friends, like just very cozy and, tight knit and everything. And the focus at Golf Park, the focus is on the coffee. The pastries and food options are very limited. I really think they had like a few pastry options and kind of like no actual like sandwiches or food available. And you know what? I did go here looking for breakfast. And so I was a little disappointed because I'm the type of person where I have to have breakfast food in the morning at breakfast. But in retrospect, I can really say that I really appreciate that this place was only serving what they did serve. And you know what? They served. But I really like that this place is just like, yeah, we serve coffee. That's just that. I like that they're not trying to just like maximize their menu and sell everything there is to sell. Like that's something with like a coffee house that I'm kind of like, makes me see it a little differently when they're out there selling like burgers and fries and all this different stuff. Like, if it's a coffee house, let's stay focused on the coffee part. But I did get oatmeal that they were serving, which completely satisfied me and was pretty good. And the staff itself was very kind and pleasant, so that is always a bonus. So props to them. Moving on to this drink, because I know this is probably what people have the most questions about since it is called Shoeless Joe. So what is this drink? It is black cherry syrup, Coca-Cola, and espresso. If you are a longtime listener of the show, you know that I love my espresso Coca-Colas. I think the first ever review I did the Argyle episode. I think that was a Coca-Cola espresso, if I remember correctly. And yeah, so this is like a fun little callback, I guess. And this isn't just cherry Coke. I think they used their own black cherry syrup. And I think that's a good thing because it gave this drink kind of a more darker, richer taste. Almost made it like it canceled out the sweetness of the Coke a little bit to make it a bit more bitter. So I enjoy that because then the sweetness wasn't just like overpowering. But yeah, this was delicious. I really enjoyed this. I think that this is equal to, if not better, than the other Coca-Cola espressos that I've reviewed on the show. I think that all the proportions that this barista did were very correct. Like I said, it was not too sweet. You still got that espresso taste cutting through the Coca-Cola. It was quite tasty. I was a little nervous getting this in the morning because this is like such a kind of intensely flavored drink, but it was the perfect pick-me-up. It's also just really nice on a hot summer day. This is like a great afternoon coffee as well. I just like imagine sitting on my porch on the farm, taking a sip of this and watching the kids and the dogs run around in the front, shout, "Hey, get down from there!" Shouting at them. Then, I go inside, like make some dinner. Yeah. Drinking my Shoeless Joe on the porch. Yeah. It was quite tasty. This was quite tasty. So I felt like the critic, what's his name from Ratatouille? The critic. Why do I feel like it's like Ego? Is his name Ego? I don't know. But I took a sip of this and had that vision. And in a lovely coffee shop, of course. And I did I did work from home from this place, so it is conducive to a working environment, you could say. So yeah, I give Golf Park and the Shoeless Joe the Nick pick, of course. Moving right along, the coffee thought. This segment is an outlet dedicated to voice my incoherent thoughts over some coffee. Like I said, it has been some time since I joined you all, and it was just us talking. So I feel like so much has happened. I feel like it's been all of May that I've gone without talking to you all. And so I just want to do a little recap of what I've been watching, reading, listening to, playing, all of these things. I'm going to start in the music department because I feel like there is so much happening over there. And I'm going to get to the main event of this coffee thought, which is music related. But some little music things I've been listening to. Calico by Ryan Beatty. Really good. And I heard somewhere that he actually contributed to the Cowboy Carter album a bit, which is really cool. I don't know if that's true. I also have been thoroughly enjoying Princess of Power by Marina. Some of my favorite songs being Cantissimo, of course, Je ne sais quoi, Digital Fantasy, Hello Kitty. Hello Kitty took me a while, but I do like it now. I Heart You and Final Boss are great. I am enjoying the Addison Rae album. I think it's fun. It's just it's fun. It's something for the kids. It's just good. Now, get off me about it. I don't want to hear the hate. I don't want to hear that right now. The singles, of course, still stand out to me when I listen to this album, but some of the new ones, like Fame is a Gun and Money is Everything, are just fun. I'm having a good time. Now, Miley Cyrus's new album, Something Beautiful. I really hopped on to Miley, of course, with Bangers. I really liked that. And Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets. Younger Now was good. Didn't really spend too much time with it, but like my Miley album was Plastic Hearts. It still is. This, and I do think that Endless Summer Vacation was a great album, but it just wasn't quite like scratching that Miley itch that I had. This though, this is like, I don't know. It's like if Endless Summer Vacation and Plastic Hearts had a baby almost. It's so good. I'm having a really good time with this album. I even saw the visual album, the movie she put out. I don't know if that was like one night only, but I went. And it it wasn't exactly contributing anything other than just like things for your eyes to look at while listening to the music. I don't think I really got any sort of new feelings out of it, or if it, uh, you know, enhanced the experience of this album, but it was just stunning visuals, the outfits, the choreography, and just kind of like the emphasis placed on like the sound design in the visual album were great. Some of my favorites right now are Reborn, Every Girl You've Loved, Ever Loved, sorry, and Pretend You're God. I think that those are great. And of course, my final little music thing are Lord's singles that she has out right now. If you know me outside the podcast, you know that Lorde is pretty much my number one artist next to Beyonce. She's up there. She's up there. I am a diehard Lorde fan. I really am. And so these two singles that are out right now, What Was That and Man of the Year, are gagging me bad. I'm really into them. And if this is carried out throughout the rest of the album, which I'm hearing it is, we are in for a treat. And you know what? I might be having some financial stress right now, but you know what? I did purchase the signed vinyl of Virgin. So, yeah, what now? Very excited about this one. I don't think Lorde really ever misses. I think she can be misunderstood, but she doesn't miss. So I'll say that. And I've also, of course, been enjoying Magdalena Bay, but that's like been a constant thing for the past year. What have I been watching? More Sex in the City, which I'm saving all of the Sex in the City discussion for a later time. I will do movie reviews of the two movies, and we will talk about it then. I have also been just watching a lot of movies in the theater, just sort of catching up. I watched Mission Impossible. I'm going to give that a mix. I watched Ballerina, Pick. It was great. What else did I watch? Oh, I saw The Phoenician Scheme literally today. I'm starting to think Wes Anderson just isn't quite for me. I do appreciate his work though. Um, and yeah, my other major thing that has been going on is the Nintendo Switch 2 was released. And I did pre-order it and I got it on day one. And I have been thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's a really great console. But that is a whole nother coffee thought. The main coffee thought for today, also, thank you for listening to me ramble about those different things. The main coffee thought for today, I experienced something in the year May 2025, the month and year. I went and saw the Cowboy Carter World Tour performed by Beyonce in East Rutherford, New Jersey, I think is the exact town, at the MetLife Stadium on night 3, I believe, the Sunday night show. I went up with a friend of the podcast, Nick AG, and we went to New York, had some fun in the city, saw the sights and whatnot. And the main event was the show. I don't even know where to start with the show, and I'll try to keep it brief because I've already been yapping a lot during this episode, and I think I talked a little bit about my experience with the show on my Patreon page, so you can go there if you want to listen to more. But I don't quite know where to start. If I'm being completely honest, I keep having to re-record this part where I talk about the show because I end up like losing my train of thought because I keep reflecting back on it, and it's just so heavy to think about. There's so many things to think about, and also it was like a few weeks ago, so my memory's a little bit like, yeah, how did I feel? But my mind goes directly to when she sings the national anthem. Going into the show, I did have the set list spoiled for me, and I saw that she sings the national anthem, and I was thinking, oh yeah, she'll just get out there and sing the national anthem. And of course, I was proven wrong, and it is Beyonce, so she went out there and sang the national anthem, and completely like, I don't know, made it something unique and special. It was almost like this rock and roll version of the national anthem, which I think is a callback to something another artist did. I can't exactly remember, but it's like this rock and roll version. And as she's singing it and singing it really well, there are flashes of the American flag on the screen behind her and flashes of the red, white, and blue and the stars. And it almost looks like the American flag is glitching. And I think that is to show kind of how all of these American ideals and dreams and promises that were made to us by being American citizens, how that is being distorted now. And, based on who you are, the color of your skin, maybe that always has been distorted. So I think it was a really powerful performance of the national anthem, and singing that, she goes straight into Blackbird, which was just beautifully performed. Much like the album, the show starts with American Requiem, and I feel like that was a really good decision because now that I've seen this performance, I now understand the album in a completely different way, and I sort of understand the album now as a story. And American Requiem and Amen are kind of like the prologue and the epilogue. American Requiem is very much about this person who is distraught about the America they currently live in and how these dreams and these promises of freedom that were made to them are being trampled on. And Amen is sort of like this declaration, and it's proposing this new idea of America that welcomes everyone and that allows everyone to chart their own definition of the American dream. So, of course, and the whole album and the whole set list of the tour and all of the visuals on the tour are like this journey getting from that starting point to the end point. And Beyonce's performance throughout all of this was just spectacular. And she is so committed to this story and this message that she is saying in this tour and album. And it really shows through her performance. The other thing I want to mention is that the visuals in this tour, I want them on repeat in my eyelids till the day I die. I thought the visuals on Renaissance were one thing, which they were. That those visuals were amazing. But the visuals on the screen for this Cowboy Carter tour were breathtaking. They were so good. I just need that so bad. I need to see those visuals again. I'm thinking about going to see the show again when she comes to DC. I originally couldn't get tickets to the DC show, which is why I went to New York, but all the stuff with the tickets happened and there's tickets available, I think. So I'm thinking about going again. But that is all to say that I had a wonderful time at the Cowboy Carter World Tour. It was such a wonderful experience. The show was amazing. Of course, meeting other Beyonce fans, that was amazing. Sir Davis whiskey is so good. The merch was all really good. I have not stopped wearing my hat and shirt that I got. It was great. I had a great time. It was lovely. When the day comes, if it comes, that the recording of this tour is released in theaters, I encourage you to go watch it. No matter how you feel, please go watch it. If you are American, you will get something out of this. It was just such a powerful experience, and I'm so grateful that I was able to go and spend that time with a dear friend of mine, and I will treasure the memory of this show for the rest of my life. So yeah, that is something that I really needed to say on this podcast for a while. So thank you for being here while I say that, for bearing with me through all of it. But I think it's time now to talk about some movies. But first, let's take a quick little break. You're invited to the Coffee House, a free members-only Patreon page from Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. On off weeks from the main show, join me in discussing themed collections of coffee and movie reviews. Currently, the Coffee House is brewing its first batch, Lynchian Picks, a 10-part collection diving deep into the dreamlike world of David Lynch films and black coffee. Membership is free to the coffee house, which includes all collection episodes. For only $3 a month, though, you can tip your barista and become a regular, which will grant you access to special bonus episodes as well as having your name listed in ad breaks just like this one. I would like to take a moment to thank everyone that has joined so far. I hope you are enjoying the David Lynch episodes that I've released. If you would like to join, you can do so using the link in the episode notes. Brewing this week on the Coffee House is part 3 of Lynchian Picks, which will be a discussion of David Lynch's Dune adaptation. I will see you there. Welcome back, everybody. I think it is time we talked about a movie. Now showing is our feature ideological analysis and critical film review segment by yours truly. Now showing the original 1980 Friday the 13th. Summer counselors arrive at Camp Crystal Lake to prepare for the arrival of their campers. Despite the chilling history of the camp and its local moniker of Camp Blood, the counselors fail to prepare for their gruesome slaughter at the hands of a mysterious killer. The 1980 Friday the 13th was directed by Sean S. Cunningham and stars Adrienne King as Alice. It was originally released in theaters on May 9th, 1980. I have so much to say about this movie. Wow. Okay, like I said earlier on, this is my first time watching any Friday the 13th movie. I've never seen any of them. I don't know why. I feel like when like horror movie people are getting into horror movies, they kind of start in one subgenre and they kind of stay over there. And there's kind of like those other subgenres that they just don't really touch. And the like Friday the 13th summer camp slasher horror movie, that's a genre that is widely untouched to me. I never really had the time to get into Friday the 13th. I was busy over in like Alien, Halloween, that sort of territory. My other like major franchise I've never touched is Nightmare on Elm Street. So who knows what'll happen when I see that one for the first time. But going into this movie, I was expecting something entirely different. I was kind of expecting something like Black Christmas, where you're just kind of watching kills happen. And I think you do that. And I was also expecting Jason in this movie, in his like hockey mask and everything. And you don't get that at all. And I was so surprised by that, because when you think of Friday the 13th, you think of Jason in his hockey mask, and you don't get that here. And so I'm really impressed with this movie just because it has such a reputation that if you've never seen any of these, if you really don't know anything about them, you kind of have like this made up idea of what this movie is supposed to be and what the killer looks like. And it's completely wrong. And a lot of people, I think, say this about Scream, which Scream is also another franchise that I've barely dipped my toes into. I've only seen the first one. But I know that that's kind of what happened with Scream, is that they advertised, who was it? Drew Barrymore, I think. Some like really big celebrity. They advertised like, oh, she's like the final girl in the movie. She's on all the posters and everything. And she's the first kill. And I feel like that's like the sensation that I had watching this movie, how I had all of these ideas going into it that just never happened. And kind of like my expectations were really turned on their head. So I think that translates into like, I had a really great time watching this, and I was really engaged and I was really shocked by so many things in this movie. I will also preface this review by saying that I have done no research about this movie. I know nothing about the production behind it, the reception. I know nothing about the cult following of this movie or any movie that comes after it. I know there's some crazy ones out there like Jason Goes to Hell or Freddy versus Jason. I know that this movie has just like, it has a ton of history behind it. I know nothing about it. This review I just want to casually discuss my interpretation. I know there are a million interpretations of this movie. There's a million reviews and discussions about it out there because it is such an iconic film. But I just want to hop on here and just talk about the great time that I had watching it. So, getting into it, I really was not expecting this film to be as funny as it was. But also, it was funny, but equally as terrifying when it needed to be. I thought that the kills in this movie were genuinely so scary. I think about when that one guy, I don't really know the characters' names, but why would I? They just all kind of die. That one guy who has sex with the girl in the bed, who dies and has the hand come out from under the bed and then the arrow goes through his neck. That was really scary to me. Or the scene with that girl who was having sex with the guy, when she goes into the bathroom and she's in the stall and then she hears something and she looks through all the different showers. I was genuinely really scared. And I haven't really felt that way about a movie in a long time. A lot of recent horror movies I felt very disturbed by, but not quite as like, ooh, oogie boogie, scared of the dark, like need to sleep with my lights on, you know? I feel like this just crafted scares in a really genuine, honest way. And I appreciate that. I appreciate honest, hard work from a horror movie. So I was really surprised to have that feeling, especially older horror movies. I feel like, so much of what makes the movie scary has been replicated so many times since it came out that like I'm watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. When in fact, like this is the original doing it for the first time. But watching these scares in this movie, it was just as scary as any other time I've seen this in any other movie. So I feel like there is something about this original film that is timeless and that cannot be replicated. So I'm really interested to see the remakes of this movie and to see them try to replicate these things that I just said could not be replicated. Yeah, so really excited to get into the sequels and spin-offs and remakes and everything of this one. Uh, Another thing that I think enhances the scares of this movie is just the ambiance. I think that this is a beautifully shot movie, and Sean Cunningham and all of the, you know, whatever directors of photography and whoever, editors, they must have a really keen eye for a beautiful shot, especially nature shots. I think were done really well here. And, you really feel in the movie. You don't feel like you're on a set at all. This feels very like, and like I said, I didn't do my research, so I don't know, but this feels like a very indie movie where it's just kind of a group of people that were like, hey, let's just go out to the woods and make this movie. It reminded me a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in that way, where it just, you really felt like you were there in this dangerous, threatening setting that was oddly beautiful at some parts. You're just kind of in this like American nature filled landscape. And I also really loved just kind of like act 2 and 3 of this movie when it started to rain. I feel like anytime in a horror movie, when it starts raining, I'm like, okay, shit's going down. Like it's getting good. And in this movie, the rain just comes down so hard. And I think what enhanced my viewing of this movie was not only did I watch it like in the early days of summer on Friday, June 13th, but there was a flood watch happening and it was like raining cats and dogs outside on my way to see this movie and while I was watching it. So that just like enhanced my experience. And when I left the theater, it kind of had like that post rain feel in the air where it was like you had that like rainy smell and the air, it was kind of clinging to you. It was kind of felt very murky outside. It was also nighttime and the lights seemed brighter. I don't know. Maybe I sound like a stoner right now, but I I just the atmosphere was great for watching this movie and also just within the movie itself. It was just captured so well. Okay. What I think I really want to get to about this movie though what was really stand out to me and what really made it a great time, yes, of course, the atmosphere and the genuinely scary moments that I just mentioned. But what really made this stand out for me, what really surprised me about this movie was the comedy. I know that, camp has its definitions rooted in queer film history. Um, but I also think that camp in movies, it's kind of dependent on the viewer. I think that like depending on your taste, your humor, uh, camp is different for from person to person. Yes, I think there is an objective definition rooted in queer history, but I really think it's flexible from person to person. All of that to say, I think that this movie is camp. And like I said, I did no research on this movie, so I don't know if that's something that a million people have said. I don't know, but I had to come on here and say it. Especially because looking at my letterboxed, all of my friends who have watched this movie, this is like 2.5 stars or lower. Like, I think a lot of people in my generation, sort of in my film circle, they do not like this movie. And I've even heard some people that I know say that they were just kind of bored with it. They weren't having a good time. So that inspired me. I got out of the theater and it inspired me. I was like, I have to talk about this on the podcast because I feel like I had an experience with it that, people I know did not. I feel like I have something to contribute. And I just think that this movie is so ridiculous and so funny. Like I just think about the first girl, I think her name is Annie, the first one who gets killed. Not in the like prologue, but like the first actual character, I guess, who's walking through town and she goes to that diner and she asks for directions to Camp Crystal Lake and she runs into that creepy old guy who's like, Camp Blood, you can't go there, blah, 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 don't do it. You're gonna die in there. Harbinger, Harbinger. She's like, well, I gotta go to camp, blah, blah, blah. And she's like hitchhiking along the road and everything. And she has that really funny line that she's like, I don't like when people call children kids. It makes me think of goats. Like, it's just stupid. And she's in like she's hitchhiking and she's talking about how much she loves helping kids and, you know, this and that, her dreams to be a star. I don't know. Just, she's this very like goody two shoes, like kind hearted, just, you know, all around good person who's excited to like go to camp and help out these children that are coming. And um she hitchhikes a ride with this one person who we do not see, the killer, and she's just sort of talking and she gets a bad feeling and she's like, actually, I you missed our turn. Like, I want out. Can you let me out, please? Please let me out. And she jumps out of the car and is like running through the forest. And it's just like one of those ridiculous horror movie runs where she's flailing her arms up in the air and she trips like a million times. This girl cannot run. Just keeps repeatedly tripping. And of course, the killer gets her and slits her throat. And just, I don't know. The movie starts off very camp from the beginning. There's kind of this air of comedy, and you know, it's trying so hard, and it's so earnest, uh, in a way, to the extent that it is ridiculous. That it's just ridiculous. And it's also just iconic. This movie is iconic, which to me, that is like an element of camp. This was the first to do so many things, felt like the first. And it's just really cool. Like a smile was brought to my face being like, wow, like this is amazing. Yeah, so I really liked that opening. And I love that, I was kind of imagining what Annie was seeing when she was hitchhiking. And if you know the twist in this movie, you know what who she was seeing in the driver's seat. But I was imagining her to be seeing Jason, and like I was like, okay, really, like this girl got into the car with this guy who has a hockey mask on, and she saw no issue with that. But when he missed the turn, that's when she wanted to speak up and when she wanted to get out of the car. But I know that that wasn't the case. But it just kind of was funny to me at the beginning where I was like, girl, really? Like, he's clearly the killer. Um, the movie goes on and everything, and it's sort of like very routine. And I think that is where a lot of people get lost is the first act of this movie. It's just kind of like your basic summer camp slasher movie sort of routine. The usual things happen. You kind of have like the couple that's in love and like running off to have sex in a random shed somewhere. You have the prankster guy who pretends he's drowning just to get a kiss from the pretty girl when she tries to resuscitate him. And you have like the nerdy guy. You have the responsible girl who is obviously the final girl. You kind of have all your different like formulaic elements here. You have all of the setup for when the kills start to happen. And the kills start happening, and this is when the movie is just kind of scary. There are kind of like jokes or camp moments scattered throughout the movie at this point. But I think this is when the movie is just sort of delivering you scary moments and gruesome kills. And what interested me at this part of the film is how we still had not seen the killer at all. And I think that was because of my expectations going into this, how, you have this iconic killer, Jason Voorhees, and, he has that iconic symbol of the hockey mask. And I was like, okay, well, when are they going to show that? And there were so many moments in this film where I was like, oh, if you just saw like a hockey mask in a window looking into the cabin, that would be horrifying. Or if that girl was like pulling back the shower curtains and she pulled one back and it was just this hockey mask, so scary. And you never got that. And I kept thinking throughout the whole movie, I was like, when are we going to see him? Because it'll be really scary when we do. And you never got that. But what we did get when we had the reveal of the killer was, and spoiler, if you have not seen Friday the 13th, the original one, you get this middle-aged mom, Mrs. Voorhees. You get this like lady in this cardigan sweater with this little updo hairstyle who looks like she could be your aunt or, maybe even your grandma. This just lady. And she just like seems so sweet and everything. And of course, she just snaps and turns vicious. And it's just hilarious. The rest of the movie, when it's just Alice being the final girl trying to survive, is so it still remains very scary and tense, but it is hilarious. And I think that is something that I needed to go to the theater to get this out of the movie. And because everyone around me was laughing and just having a great time laughing at this movie. And I think if I watched this like at my house alone, I wouldn't have known to laugh at it really. And I might have caught on to be like, oh, this is ridiculous and fun, but it maybe would not have quite been as, outright funny to me. But I don't know, being in the crowd, I kind of felt like I had permission to laugh, and that in turn just made me have like a really great time laughing at this movie. But yeah, it just gets ridiculous so fast. And there was no hint at, Mrs. Voorhees being the killer or there even being a character as known as Mrs. Voorhees. She just kind of shows up. Her car pulls up and she's just kind of there. It's like the last, I don't know, 20-30 minutes of the movie. She shows up. She's like, oh, I'm Mrs. Voorhees. I run the camp with whoever such and such. And then she just turns and she's like, kill them, mommy. Kill them, mommy. Like, I guess we're supposed to think like Jason, her dead son, possesses her and tells her to kill the camp counselors. It is just so ridiculous. Kill her, mommy. Kill her, mommy. It is, listen, I'm going to think about this movie for a long, long time. I'm going to quote this movie forever. and I cannot wait to see what the sequels have in store. I know they might not be good, but wow, a love affair has been started between me and this film. It's just so funny. Kill them, mummy. Kill them, mummy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we come to find out that you may think that Jason Voorhees is the killer, like I did, but you find out that Jason died as a little boy, or supposedly died as a little boy, and he drowned in the lake. He didn't know how to swim, and he drowned because his camp counselors were too busy making love in the shed. And so we get to know Mrs. Voorhees as not only just this enraged revenge hungry mom who may or may not be possessed by the spirit of her dead son who doesn't know how to swim, but she's also this, radical religious like figure, and she's upset and she's blaming the death of her son on the camp counselors and their neglect, which was due to their promiscuity, the promiscuous nature. So she's like just out there like, oh, all these teenagers are having sex, they deserve to die, they're neglecting my kid. And it's just kind of, and you always kind of have had that sort of undertone in slasher movies, of course, like the people that have sex are the ones who die, and the promiscuous characters are the ones that get killed. Yeah, it's just really interesting to see like that theme, that horror movie theme manifested in this character. And I wonder how much credit is owed to this movie for that larger horror movie theme. And yeah, just the remainder of this movie is so fun. It is so hilarious. Oh my God. When Alice is trying to barricade the door and she's like, just throwing, and she tries to tie the door shut with the rope on the banisters, and she just keeps like trying to tie it tighter, and it's not really working. Then she's like piling all this furniture on the door. Just the like performance from this actress, let me see her name, Adrienne King. The performance and kind of like her just panicky nature, and she's just like running around, and it's like she's clueless, and she's just like a really bad final girl. Like she's really not doing a good job, but luckily she's just up against this middle-aged lady who showed up. So it's not really a like super threatening killer. Like it's just a lady. But she's just like trying to barricade the door. She's like throwing these chairs, and like it's not gonna do anything. And then she tries hiding in the pantry, and she's just making so much noise and doing a terrible job. And at one point she's like hiding in front of the oven, and her like flannel shirt or jacket or whatever gets caught on the oven, and she's like trying to get away from the oven door, and she's like, no, 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 and it just like tears her flannel or jacket off, and I'm like, girl. Like it is so ridiculous. I was laughing so much at this movie, and I don't know, and her like getting in the canoe and paddling out into the middle of the lake with just her fingers. I was like, be so for real. It's such a fun, ridiculous movie. I had such a great time watching this. Yeah. And my last point, coming out of this movie, I thought so much of like all of the summer camp slasher movies that I have seen before. Never seen a Friday the 13th movie, but I've seen so many of these other kind of movies inspired by it. I think of In a Violent Nature. I think of recently Hell of a Summer. I think of American Horror Story 1984. All of these movies that are trying to pay homage to or reinvent Friday the 13th in their own way. None of them are able to do it. I think all of those things that I just named are flops. 1984, it's fine, but it's American Horror Story. It is kind of like its own thing. But Hell of a Summer is just not at all doing like what this movie did. In a Violent Nature, the whole claim to fame, which I have a whole review of that movie if you want to watch it or listen to it on here. I'll link it in the episode notes. In a Violent Nature, its whole claim to fame, its whole gimmick is that it follows the POV of the killer, which it doesn't even do. And I would argue that this film does it better, which is crazy, because this is kind of just like the OG summer camp slasher movie. It was just great to see this. It was great to see a summer camp slasher movie done really well, because I don't even think I've seen that before. I was just really surprised by this movie. I had a great time watching it. It was scary and it was funny and it was camp, pun intended. With all of that being said, I'm going to give Friday the 13th a Nick pick. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to my show. It really means a lot to me. I think in between the lines, like I mentioned earlier in this episode, I haven't recorded in quite some time. It was the Bring Her Back episode, and there was kind of a large break. I'm going to be honest. I've been feeling really discouraged about the podcast, and I have been suffering imposter syndrome and worried that I'm not contributing as much as I can be to like the movie review, coffee review space. But I really appreciate people that like do interact with the show and who let me know that they listen. And I've also been going to other shows and kind of diving in deeper with like podcasters that I do know about. I mean, they don't know me, but I know them. And I've been listening a lot to like their earlier stuff, and they've really inspired me to keep going and to kind of do my thing and keep reviewing coffee and movies, because that's what I enjoy doing. So I just would like to send a special thank you to everyone who's listening and who has been listening to the show. It really means a lot to me, and I'm very excited to keep doing it. As much as I can be. And this episode was just very spur of the moment. I was like, yeah, I have a lot to talk about. Let's do it. And I had a great time. So thank you for joining me in this episode. And I'm very excited for the next one. Before you go, be sure to follow at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram and at Coffee Nick on Blue Sky. There you can stay up to date on everything about the show. Join the show's free Patreon page using the link in the show notes and listen as I discuss David Lynch films every other week. One more thing, if you like what you heard, please rate the show on your podcast app of choice and share the show with your friends. A special thank you to Nathan Moore for creating the show's opening and closing themes. Until next time, kill her, mommy, kill her, mommy.